Hi, friends. Happy Winning Wednesday. It's Sonia, and
Jeannie, hello.
we are super pumped to be back with you again. I swear it like you sneeze and it's another week gone by. I don't know
Yes.
about you, Jeannie, but I just feel like, I don't know, the minute I hit 30, it was like everything was like on the accelerator. Everything is like moving fast. And
Yep.
I mean, some stuff, that you wished for when you were younger, like I can't wait until I'm this age, or I can't wait for this, or can't wait for that. Now you're like, okay, could it slow down a little bit, right? Or a
Yeah,
lot.
I agree.
Well, welcome everyone to another edition of Winning Wednesday. We are live all over the place and are super excited to be with you guys today again. And we're going to talk about something that is so very near and dear to both of our hearts. And that is how to win in life over the age of 40. And we're going to dig into some things, and this is going to be a series that goes on for the next couple of weeks. So if you're a lady over 40, you definitely want to be tuning in, because really our mission with this whole series, as we talk about every week, is to help you win in life. And so this is a topic, obviously, both Jeannie and I fit into this category. And so we love helping women just, steer the boat maybe in a different direction as they find this new chapter of their life. And so we're live all over the place. If you guys are catching us on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, drop a comment below if you would. Let us know what time you are watching and what platform you are watching from. And also, if you want to reveal, are you a woman over 40? And is there one thing that you just are having a hard time adjusting your sails to do differently now that you crossed that milestone in your life? So let's dig in. I'm excited about this. Jeannie, let's talk about it. What has been different in your world? Like, what did you think would change when you hit 40 and beyond? And what has actually happened? Let's talk about that.
I have to say, I actually like logically, you're going to get older, but you never think it really is going to happen to you until it does.
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest thing is you turn around, it's like, wait, how old am I? I have to say, I still do feel, and I used, when I used to talk to people in their 40s and I was younger and they were 40s and over, they used to say, well, I still feel like a kid inside. And I wouldn't understand that. But now I've reached that point in my life and I still do feel like a kid
Right?
inside. And I truly do, I will say the one thing I've noticed is my memory, like I used to always be forgetful. I've always been forgetful, but it's worse now that I'm older. And I will go into a room, with the intent of doing something or saying something to someone. And when I reach the room, I've totally forgotten what I had to do or say. So so
You're like,
that's
why
the
am I
biggest
here?
change. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. That's
What
the
other
biggest change I've seen for
Okay.
me.
So memory, all right. And we do promise we're going to talk to you about some problems, because you have to have a problem before you have a solution, right? So
Mhm.
I think, the more we can talk about these things, the more it becomes real. And then when you have something that becomes real, you have more people willing to like contribute to helping you find solutions. That's what I've always found. I
Mhm.
agree, and I think some would call that brain fog.
Yeah.
And realizing that there's a lot of things that can cause brain fog, and it sometimes is hard to pinpoint what that thing is. But as women in our 40s, I mean, a lot of different things, 40s and beyond, and you can adapt this to 50s, 60s, wherever you are. Basically a new decade, I look at it as like a new chapter in your life, and
Mhm.
what happened in the former chapter maybe brought you to where you are now, but regardless, you can't go back to that last chapter, right? This is a new one for you. And so some of the things that, obviously we're both health experts. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and certified diabetes educator. And Jeannie, what are all of your bazillion credentials?
And I'm an exercise physiologist and a national board certified health and wellness coach.
Another big long sentence. Okay, so what does
Yes.
that all really mean? That means that, we look at things through a very scientific lens. but also a holistic lens and something that, we want to give you practical resources that everyone can understand, whether you're a scientist like us or you're just an average person trying to navigate midlife, as we call it. So that's how I look at it, as midlife. And, so looking at it from like what is happening, I think the biggest thing for me that I've noticed is like, just all of these hormonal changes that happen, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy, and it's always very gradual. And so you don't really know, and there are things that don't happen every day. So you don't really know what's going on. We work with a lot of women who are starting to enter that perimenopause, into menopause, postmenopause, and everybody enters that at a different time. So it's like trying to figure out where you are on that continuum is like banging your head on a wall. And so everything, in the past for most women in their 30s started to like work like clockwork, right? You had your cycle every month. It was like boom, boom, boom. Like everything is dialed in until all of a sudden one day it's not. And it starts with, maybe it's like a couple days later, and then it's a week later, and then things just start to change. And then things are normal for a while. So I look at it as our hormones are doing this. And along with that, this is my science brain coming out again. When you have hormonal changes, you have brain fog, you have weight problems that maybe you didn't have before, or if you're, just trying to lose that 10 pounds, like it becomes harder. So the things that we never struggled with before, it used to be like we could just go work out more and, tighten up the diet a little bit, and voila, 25 pounds would come off. Now, like everything, it's like an act of Congress just to lose 5 pounds, right? So full disclaimer, we're going to talk more about this next week, but we have a really exciting program for those of you that have struggled to lose weight called the 5-Day Drop that literally just dropped. So we're excited to unload and unpack more information about that. But if you are that woman over 40 who's on a struggle bus with losing weight and you want to know about the 5-Day Drop, go ahead and just put the word drop down in the comments and we'll be sure to give you some information. There's more to come on that. But so hormones are changing, weight loss is difficult. Let's see. And along with that, you see what? Sleep changes?
Absolutely.
I mean, I was always that rock sleeper, put a fan on and I'm good. Like just come find me in 8 hours and I'm good. As you get into part of it is hormonal changes. Part of it is adjusting to like this new chapter of your life, but sleep becomes problematic for a lot of people. And a lot of it is because as your hormones change, so do your levels of cortisol and DHEA. And so that stress response is a little harder to deal with than it once was. Used to be you could bounce back from stress and no problem at all. Now it's like, okay, well, that's a little bit harder to navigate. Do you suffer with, or did you suffer with any sleep problems?
So I've always been a very, very good sleeper. What I've noticed though is that I used to go to sleep like clockwork at 10 o'clock every night. Now it's more closer to midnight, but I wake up at the same time every morning. So I'm getting less sleep because I can't sleep earlier than that. So yeah, I guess it would be sleep issues because I'm not getting the full 8 hours of sleep. When I do go to sleep, it's solid, but it takes work to get to that point of falling asleep.
And I'm kind of the opposite, where I am like 10:30, I'm done. Like I can't function past 10:30. But there are times when I wake up a couple times through the night. But because I have Epstein-Barr, require a lot of sleep. And so sleep is very, very important on my list to be able to function like a human. And so, I've found that ever since I hit 40 and beyond, it was like, the times where I used to have this solid night of sleep were becoming a little bit less frequent. I would wake up a couple times in the night and, I'm always able to fall back asleep, but nonetheless, I've definitely noticed, sleep changes. So I personally have been working a lot on my circadian rhythm and actually kind of rebalancing my hormones and identifying with the sun and following the curve of the sun and decreasing my exposure to blue light and all these things. And it has helped with the sleep
Okay.
issues. But I think for a lot of women, ladies, let us know. Hey, Tracy, how are you? Let us know, like, have you ever had sleep issues? And what is the number one thing about sleep that is disturbed for you? Is it not falling asleep, or is it not staying asleep, or like you don't sleep for 2 days? I mean, there are people that are true insomniacs that they don't sleep for days. And
Wow.
so, I mean, there's so many variables to that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So, what else related to hormones? Like food changes. Have you noticed any,
Yeah.
more food intolerances or things that maybe you used to be able to eat that you can't eat now?
No,
You're
not
good
for
with
me.
that. Okay. Well, that is
No,
good
I'm
because
good. Yeah.
that is
What
what
I
I hear
will
a lot.
say, I actually I don't really care for sugar as much as I used to. I will
Okay.
say that, which is a good thing, like
Yeah.
I don't crave the sweets like I used to, which is definitely needed because my body is not as, you know, uh quick to get rid of body fat as it used to. It likes to keep it.
Mm. Keeps you warm, right?
Yeah, hangs on to it. And it's like, look, I'm not in childbearing years anymore. Can we please release this?
Right, right. I know I'm looking at Tracy's comments here. She can't shut her brain off at night. It takes you a while to fall asleep. Yeah, you know what? I
Oh,
think that's so real because
yeah.
think about it, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. And maybe as you approach your 60s, there's less of this, but like let's say 40s and
Mhm.
50s, you've got, kids still around, there's the job, maybe the home-based business, like all these things, right? And so your brain is firing all over the place and you're like, shh, quiet. So I, really, and again, next week we're going to get into more of these solutions that we found that have been helpful. But, I think these are real problems that women suffer with that we don't talk about enough. And I know this next one is really relatable to you, Jeannie, and that is like your kids are getting older. So you've been this like mama bear protector for all these years.
Mhm.
Like, how does it feel to have your kids getting older and knowing that they're like just a couple years away from college?
Yeah, it really, once they enter high school, it just literally it flies by. It's like, wait a second, what grade are they in again? How old are, it's so hard. Like right now, my boys are learning how to drive. So they're getting their learner's permit. We're doing that and it's so unbelievable. I can't even believe, it's shocking. But you go into that stage of I'm not at the point yet of preparing them for college, but we're getting to that stage soon. I know when we did it with our daughter, it was, very, it was hard to let go. It's like, oh my gosh, she got accepted to the college and we were getting ready for her to move into her dorm. And it's bittersweet. Like all parents will say it's very bittersweet, but you as a parent, you don't want to hold on to them too tight because you've got to push them out at some point. And so that's where I was with that. So it's like it's very bittersweet because you want to keep them as your kids in the home. um, I know empty nesters that I've spoken to, they've said it's a completely different house once they leave. It's very quiet, but I'm not there yet. So um, I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to it, but not really. It's both sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well said. So Tracy, you've got some great comments. Tracy saying balancing prepping for an empty nest, caring for aging parents and menopause. And
Yeah.
what's crazy about what she just said is like it's literally all happening at once,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And I lost my mom a year and a half ago, and I know Jeannie, you lost your mom, you lost your daughter. I mean, these are things that are unexpected, and I feel like, and along the way, some pets, right? So you have to prepare for these things. And to your point, you said this earlier, like these are things you never expect are going to show up in your life until one day they do. And all of a sudden things are different. And I find myself like I used to be, and I still am like a huge dreamer and a big visionary. But, the older you get, the more you literally live day by day, and you still have the big dreams and plans and all of that. but you also have to pay a lot more attention to what happens tomorrow, the next day, the next day. Like I've even found myself in this
Mm.
place of it's hard to plan a trip because I don't know if something is going to, smack me in the face, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I
it's just
I same way.
real, right?
Yes,
It's
yes. I
crazy.
I used to be able to plan 6 months ahead for a trip, and now it's like, I won't do it, I rather wait till the last minute to plan something
Right.
now.
Well, I think COVID kind of changed some of that for us too. Like you
Yeah.
just don't know what's around the corner. And part of
Mhm.
that is I think we all need to break away from the fear that's been instilled in us for the last 3 years, right?
Right.
And they're still trying to do that, but that is a whole nother conversation. Um,
Mhm.
the other thing I think is really relevant, and this is going to speak to where my heart has been for the last 15 years. And some of us arrive at this place at a different time in our life. And that is that sort of finding that sense of community again. Again, your kids and maybe your friends that you grew up with, but they've been your life forever, right? And then maybe you move and your kids get older and you find yourself in this again, I'm trying to reinvent myself, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people find themselves looking for a home-based business. And I think that, I mean, people join home-based businesses for a lot of different reasons. I'm a full-time home-based business entrepreneur. So for me, it's about helping as many people across the globe as possible, but it's also the financial freedom and the time freedom that it's allowed me in my life. But there are so many people that join businesses for different reasons. And some people will say they join for the community to find their tribe of people, right?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
Jeannie and I would have never met had we not been in business together. Well, I can't say never, but or Tracy, who's on the screen, Tracy, or on watching today.
Mm.
We wouldn't have met had we not come into this place of home-based business space where I feel like it just attracts this positive energy. Like you feel like you found your people. I mean, would you agree, Jeannie? I know you're newer to the
Absolutely.
industry than I am, but like, what are your thoughts on that? I would love to hear.
Yeah, I think because it's really what they say, like-minded people. You all have the same goals, and it's the same thing with groups. When people join communities on Facebook, for different groups, like if you're in a pet group, or you like to hike, whatever it is, it's like they're great communities because you find people that have similar interests than you do, and those are quicker to create friendships with than if you were to just go out somewhere here locally where you live. So yeah, I agree. I think as you get older, your generally your friendships start to decrease. Like, you have less friends, and so you
Mhm.
have to work harder at making new friends and being involved in new communities. So yeah, online is a game changer because you can go to where that community is that you are interested in, and just really
So true.
have some amazing friendships. Yeah.
So true. I know Tracy is saying here on Facebook, finding a supportive, caring community has
Mhm.
been everything for her. And this woman, I will tell you, she is crushing her business. And it's because she just has that vibrant personality and just is so passionate about helping women as well. And so she's just crushing her business. But again, it's all about timing, right? So she was in that chapter of her life where, like, I'm looking for a change. I'm trying to find my people. Where are they hanging out?
Mhm.
And the nice thing is we all work as a team and we love to help others create success. So, if you're in that place where you've been searching for, whether it's an extra revenue stream, because we do make money doing this as well, quite a bit of money if you put the effort and the time into it. It's not just a place to hang out, but nonetheless, we do have those, as we call them. What do we call them? There's a word for it. Oh, it's like slipping my mind now, but the people that come and just kind of hang out,
Oh,
they're like the campers. They come and the
yeah.
cheerleaders. That's what I'm looking for. They're
Oh,
like
the cheerleader.
cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's a place for them as well.
Mhm.
And you're welcome, Tracy. Super proud of you. You're incredible. And it's like then there are people like me that do this full time, and Jeannie's working toward full time. Tracy, I know you're working toward full time. So it's like this group of people that maybe I don't know, call us a little bit of a misfit, right? Because every job we have never really quite checks the boxes. It's like a paycheck, right?
Right.
And, we're always looking for more. And we find that in the world of home-based business. And so, if you've been searching for something, reach out to Jeannie or myself or Tracy. If you know Tracy, she's, here on Facebook watching, reach out to us because it can be a really life-changing experience, especially if you're in that over 40 crowd. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that I find to be changing. I'm going to defer this one to you because I think you're kind of the expert here, Jeannie. So there's a lot of like recommendations for exercise changes, and we'll get into the like types maybe next week, but
Yeah.
why is it that maybe we used to be able to kill ourselves in CrossFit in our 30s, but all of a sudden we get into our 40s and beyond and like the same workouts don't work anymore? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it all has to do with your hormonal changes.
Mm.
And I will say this, that everything that we do when we're 40 and over, it's really driven with those hormonal changes. The estrogen being so low and your cortisol levels, like you really, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Hold on one second.
Okay, real life. All right, I'll kind of take over where she left off, but I have a 70-pound golden retriever, so I have to tuck her away because if you heard her barking, Luna's little bark is like so quiet compared to Ruby's big bark.
I bet.
Yeah. This is really good stuff.
So, because your cortisol levels are elevated, you really need to work at keeping that down. I think everything we do is working towards balancing out those hormones. Exercise, especially if you're doing like high intensity cardio, that's going to drive your cortisol levels up. So the one thing you want to do is, and that's why I've incorporated walking more than ever. I used to like laugh at walking.
The mall walkers, right? I'm never going to be one of them.
Yeah, I was a CrossFitter through and through. I did hard workouts, and once I injured myself, I had to kind of exit out of CrossFit and find other alternatives. I went into doing Pilates and yoga, and now it's a lot of walking and weight training. Those are like the two things that you could really benefit from, especially if you don't have much experience in doing different types of exercises. Just go out for a walk. You can do body weight exercises like push-ups and squats and lunges and planks, a lot of fun things without weights. But what I will say is that, yeah, it's bottom line is it's driven by your hormones. And in order to keep those in check, you have to do exercises that are best for certain age groups. So like 40 and over, high intensity cardio doesn't really work as much as it used to.
So true. That is so true. And there are people that I see, and I was one of them, still like killing myself in the CrossFit gym. And then I literally started gaining weight from it. I'm like, how is this possible? If you've ever done CrossFit, let's just say you burn a lot of calories. So there disputes the calories in, calories out method. So, as a dietitian, I've let that one go a long time ago, but it truly is about hormones, toxicity. And as we get into our 40s and beyond, the things that we used to be able to maybe tolerate, I don't know if that's the right word for it, just aren't the same. So I've found that a lot of women, and as a dietitian, I talk food and supplements a lot. I've found that a lot of women need to be a little tighter with their diet, and, they can't maybe have the cheat meal, or they can't have as much, alcohol on the weekends as they used to. They, the fried chicken sandwich and fries that they might used to, get away with once a week now makes them feel sick for 3 days if they eat it. I've found that really putting an emphasis on knowing where your food comes from, it becomes more important. Everybody should be careful about that, but the older you get, the more important it comes. And then the same holds true with supplements. Maybe in your 20s, 30s, you didn't need supplements, but as you get 40s and beyond, you need what we call targeted supplementation. And we'll give you some recommendations on our favorite supplements as we continue this series. But, the things that, I look at it this way: if we want to stay in the world of wellness and prevent illness, the things that we do just need to be a lot more routine and a lot more, I spend more money now on supplements than I ever did when I was in my 30s. because I make sure that they're quality and they're not, coming from a weird source, that they're third party tested, all of those things. Whereas maybe in my 30s, I would go to GNC and get my vitamins, right? So there's just a lot more, and call it education, call it, realizing that you have to, just navigate these waters a little differently. It's really an adjustment time. And so
Yeah.
that's really why we wanted to launch this part of this series, is just because I feel like, there's something weird that happens when you hit 40, and not weird in a bad way, right? And we believe that you can age very gracefully and,
Mhm.
still act and look like you're in your 30s and younger. And, but still you have to be a little bit more mindful of all these things that we've talked about today. So did we miss anything, Jeannie? I know that was a lot to unpack, and we're going to talk about some solutions over the next couple of weeks, but anything else that's really been on your heart that you want to talk about?
And one thing I want to point out, it's sort of like this. It's a cycle, really, and if one of those components are off, everything else falls off. Meaning, you have sleep, you have nutrition, you have exercise, you have your mood, and that in stress levels, and all of it is impacted. So, for example, you don't get enough sleep, it impacts your mood. You crave junk, sweets or salty, right?
So
And then
true.
that, yeah, and then that causes you to have issues with your weight, so it all impacts. And then you don't want to exercise because you're too tired. So it makes sense when you say, oh, I'm too tired to exercise, my energy levels are low. It's probably because it's coming from you being too stressed, you're not getting enough sleep, you're not in a very good mood today. So it's sort of like you have to start somewhere, and figuring out what's the easiest place to start is what will kind of like fix everything else in that
Mm.
space. Yeah.
So true. Tracy has a really good comment here. She says, learning to be more intentional. That's such a great, powerful word
Mm, yeah.
about health and well-being. So, it becomes a grander part of the scale, a grander part of your thoughts. Now, as your kids are getting older, you're in this, or even if they're still in the house, they're older. So you don't have little
Mhm.
toddlers running around anymore unless you've had your kids really late, right?
Mhm.
And so you're in this place of, all right, I have more time for self-care for myself. It's not just about my family anymore, right? So
Mhm.
it's kind of a freeing time as well, because
Mhm.
you realize that there's some doors opening for you to almost reinvent yourself. And that's why I think it's such a, it's a really great age. My mom, rest in peace, would always say to me, what, my 40s were like my glory years. Those were my favorite. You kids were older, and I got to find myself again. And, that's so very true. As you, move into that chapter of your life, it becomes more about you and doing things for your own personal health. So I love that. And I love that, we had this discussion today. And we're going to kind of wrap this up today. So I'm excited that you guys were here with us. Tracy, thanks for being such a great champion. I would love to have you on the show with us one week, Tracy, because I
Yes.
think you are just fabulous on camera, number one. And number two, you just have so much value that you could add. So we're definitely going to chat about that. And so if you guys are here, join us next week. If you found value in this conversation today, you can share this broadcast from wherever you're watching. We're in public places all over the place. So go ahead and share this with those who are over 40 that we might be able to inspire. And if you have any ideas or tips that you'd like us to discuss, go ahead and drop those in the comments as well. Anything that will help you win in life. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for being here, Jeannie, and we'll talk
Bye.
soon. Bye, everyone.